Welcome back. The Portfolio Committee on Mineral Resources and Energy has been crisscrossing the country, as you know, on an oversight visit to assess the state of illegal mining. The scourge was brought to the fore once again when several women were raped while filming a music video in the Krugersdorp area. What is it that they have found in these areas is the question. We're joined now by the committee chairperson, Sahlulele Luzipo, who joins me via Zoom for that conversation. Chairperson, thank you for your time. So my understanding is that you've reached a point where you are now putting together your report, having crisscrossed 5 provinces and areas that are identified as hotspots for illegal mining. Without, going into much detail, what are the highlights of what has gone into your report?
Well, good afternoon to you, Tulas, and the viewers at home. Look, I think first let me start by saying that it's not only the Portfolio Committee on Mineral Resources and Energy. It did this jointly with the Portfolio Committee on Police as well as on Home Affairs, because amongst other things, we found that most of the activities that are taking place through illegal mining, specifically in terms of social crimes, they have got that element, one, of undocumented non-South Africans, 2, they've got that element of criminal activities, like you have said correctly so. The incident that took place in Krugersdorp, which is a regrettable stain in the history of our country as far as gender-based violence that we have experienced for quite a long time. But to cut the long story short is that there are quite a number of findings that we made. Amongst those is the legislation gap that exists, which needs to be reviewed so that it can be able to respond to those particular challenges. 2 is the fast tracking of the process of what we call small scale or artisanal mining, and we say that it will be important for the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy to fast track the issue of artisanal and small scale mining. On the side of also the police, we have said one of the things that we're proposing is that yes, we welcome the issue of the specialized unit, but in those circumstances, such a specialized unit must be followed by resources. And therefore, our view is that in order to deal and equip that specialized unit, there has to be resources that are accompanied in the form of a specific conditional grant or a conditional budget that specifically talks to that. Otherwise, if the budget of the police, for an example, is just meant for police, it means there will be no resource target to deal with this as a special attention. Yes, there are some areas which must say they are quite disturbing. Allegations that talk across first the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, but also the entire criminal justice system, which is why amongst the recommendations we've made was that we could or we should have included or requested also the sister portfolio committee to join these other 3 committees, which is Justice and Correctional Services, because the allegation cuts across all the officials of government. The MRE officials are accused to be colluding. Same with police. One joke, for an example, was that when one kingpin was arrested and kept at a correctional facility, when the police came to take him to court, we were told that the officials of correctional services put up a guard of honor, which means there's somebody that is worshipped even by the correctional officer. So some of those things, they are quite shocking, and we think that there's more work that still has to be done. Lastly, I must say, to us, we have already adopted the report on Friday, and we said, what a coincidence that report, we adopted it on the day when we were starting 16 days of the activity of 16 days of activism of no violence against women and children.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me tease out one of the proposals that you've come up with, and you rightly point out it was a joint effort between yourselves and the other two committees that you mentioned. But let me ask about the issue of policing and the proposal of a specialized unit. In your hashing out the details thereof, what are the features that would distinguish this specialized unit? Because, you know, you go as far as to propose that there should be a special conditional grant for the resourcing of this unit. What would set it apart from what we have currently, where issues of violating the Minerals Act fall within the domain of the Hawks in terms of investigation, but also, I suppose, the various other units we've seen, the tactical units that have been deployed in response to problems in these communities. So what would this specialized unit do that the current police don't do?
Look, if you look at it now, exactly what like you are saying, if now we're to go to Krugersdorp, let's just be dramatic. If we're to go to Krugersdorp now, I can assure you, you will experience the same problems because these people on a daily basis, that is the life that they are living, being under terror of illegal miners, specifically the Zamazamas. And we say that therefore a dedicated unit, it means part of its work is on a daily basis. And if it means there must be shifts taken, you then put that in the same way you would have specialized courts for certain acts of crime. And we say that specialized unit, whether you take on the existing, their specific responsibility is on a day-to-day basis, crashing out all the illegal activities that are taking place, particularly dealing with the issue of social crimes, including if it means door-to-door searches that are being done randomly, whether on daily or on a weekly basis. But at this stage, like you say, there is no dedicated unit that is working on that. It is just part of the South police activities. But on top of that, we said you need to do these other things. For an example, you need to close your derelict and ownerless mine. And therefore, that conditional granting on its own must talk to that. Yeah. That from a DMRE point of view, they've said that it will take 17 years to close those derelict and ownerless mines because of the budget given. And we say you have to address that issue so that you release then those resources of police personnel to focus on your daily experiences of combating crime.
The proposals around artisanal and small-scale mining are also quite interesting because from the reportage during the course of the work of the three committees, I remember at some point you quoted as saying that the disused mines should be demolished. The proposals for artisanal and small-scale mining, do they talk to licensing of artisanal and small-scale miners, and how do they sit side by side with the proposals, certainly from you, according to the reporting, that disused mines should be demolished? I don't know, demolished so that no one can access them, or actually, because people do access them, license those people so that those who are not licensed are then taken to task?
Look, fortunately, the department is already under that process of speeding up the regulations of and policy development with regard to small-scale mining. So it's something that is in research. No. I can't say that you destroy disused mines. The point was saying that, for an example, at that time when we went to the Northwest, where there were incidences of a large number of illegal miners that were arrested, the area, the structure that they were used was a disused structure, which means the area where police had to bomb it was the one that was used as a seedbed and as a launching pad of illegal activities. So the point was saying that destroy those structures, destroy them completely because they harbor individuals who are conducting criminal activities, including the terrorization of communities. But artisanal mining obviously will work in different forms. If you go to areas, for instance, like your Bakersfield and Stilport, you could see there that the problem that you are having is the fact that there is no speeding up of licensing for people who can do their own mining activities. And therefore, it then becomes illegal because they are not given a license to operate. Equally, when we were in the Northwest, on the other side around Sun City, again, we experienced the same thing. The problem with that now is that we are creating another legacy problem because no individual will take responsibility to rehabilitate those areas, and they become again a hazard to society in the long run when they are no longer in use. And that is the area. And therefore, the question, therefore, artisanal and small-scale mining must talk to those areas. There will be areas where you may have to completely fill up or close some of those. For instance, you can't say in areas where there's risk. Some miners were told they're even mining illegal mining even underground your FNP stadium. And you can imagine what a disaster would happen if the pillars were to collapse. And therefore we say, in those areas, there's nothing else just to completely close those holes.
Two quick questions before we part, Mr. Luzipo. Did your investigation and your oversight work point you to who are the masterminds behind the illegal mining? Because, in all the debates that are happening, we tend to point to the people that we can see, the so-called zama-zamas. Did you get any glimpse into that world of the value chain and who sits at the top of the pyramid in the form of being masterminds and how we get to them?
Look, obviously, it's quite a complicated issue, but yes, we did, in terms of your levels that you will have, up to what we will call those who are playing in the international space in terms of the markets. And that is why, amongst other things, we said there needs to be very close cooperation and a regulation, in particular of gold as a scarce commodity, in the same way we do with regards to diamonds. And if we were to do that, it would be very difficult, therefore, to take gold out, because where you've got serious problems of social crimes is in the gold sector. And that is why we said we have to deal with that. There were approximately, if my memory serves me well, approximately about 8 or 10 people that will call it at a tertiary level, which means are those that are actually doing the trade. And I can't agree with you more. Even if you were to arrest millions of the zama-zamas, they will still be brought in because they are just the foot soldiers. And that is why we said we need to find a way to close at the top so that the question of value of illegal products in commodities in the form of gold is no longer there, except if you go through the normal route. That includes, by the way, and we must say by suspicion, that includes the possibility that even those who are operating at an official level, who are operating formally, might be mixing what is being derived illegally as a way of running away from the cost implications with regards to tax that goes with it. And that is why I won't mention now, there is an area where a number of zama-zamas were found dead, but we were told those zama-zamas did not die in that area. And we were asking why those zama-zamas were found in an active mine.
Yeah.
And it then raises those suspicions that even where we've got active formal mining activities taking place in gold, there could be some underhand ways of doing things in order to avoid cost goes with that.
Just a quick clarity issue. I heard you say 8 to 10 at a tertiary level. Is that your view and your sense that there could be 8 to 10, let's say, persons, it could be individuals, it could be organizations that are operating at what you consider to be at a tertiary level?
Yes, exactly. It could be a Mr. Luzipo of some sort sitting somewhere, is not being seen to be doing this. But at the end of the day, if you follow the end part of it with domestically, the actual highest level would be those people. Those people, some of them have already been under the eyes of the police, they've told us, but some of them, they've been arrested. Like I was giving you one example now of this person who was given a standing ovation, a guard of honor by correctional officer. I'm not saying that is true, but we got it directly from the Deputy Commissioner of Police in the Free State.
Lastly then, Mr. Luzipo, the other element of this question, of this conversation, has to do with the accountability of people who obtain formal mining licenses and derive a lot of value from mining activities. But the question then becomes, how accountable are they when it comes to the point of the end of life of shafts and mines and the closure rehabilitation processes that are supposed to be happening? What is new in your report that talks to that seeks to ensure that communities are not left with a hole in the ground or mounds of soil contaminated with chemicals that sometimes become a source of the social and health ills?
No, look, to us, let's be honest. You remember your pre-2002, 2004, you did not have any conditions in terms of your Mines Act those days. But since the coming into effect of the MPRDA 2004, the condition with a license goes with rehabilitation. And therefore, there are two things that rehabilitation does. It says you must then put you put as a collateral on the rehabilitation fund. Once you set up that rehabilitation fund, it is under the authority of the department, estimated at the total cost of that mine when it comes to its closure. Two is that it is encouraged that where you do a particular open cast mining, you do what is called concurrent rehabilitation. And therefore, at this stage, we have not had a situation where people were given a mining right. That is why, by the way, just to come chip in, that is why you had a court case now that includes a former official of the department, that it is alleged that they took from the rehabilitation fund in order to offset the payment of the cost of the mine that was being bought by that family. That is not allowed in law. Once you put aside the rehabilitation fund, you can't tamper with it until mining is done completely, and then you do rehabilitation, or you do what I said, concurrent rehabilitation. The problem that we're having in some cases is what I said. You've got a problem of what the law that is the Act, the MPRDA, which is under the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. That does not talk to your Companies Act. So in most cases, the problems comes in when companies are faced with financial difficulties and challenges. They opt for the Companies Act. Now, the Companies Act allows the use of business rescue practitioners. And that period where there are business rescue practitioners, that is what sometimes illegal mining starts to flourish in those areas. And that is why we tried, there's a need to harmonize the MPRDA with the Companies Act to make it very difficult for anyone to carry a mining right without having applied for, including the business rescue practitioners.
All right. Thank you for that. Thank you for doing as best a job as you can to sum up what I imagine is a comprehensive report, having done the work that you have done. That's Sahlulele Luzipo. He's the chairperson of the Mineral Resources and Energy Committee in Parliament. Just summing up some of what they've found in the work that they've done over the past few months. As you heard there, it's a nuanced report, and we should all engage with it because this is a problem that we continue to grapple with in our society.